In the previous module, we discussed the importance of creating a supportive environment for your team. And by we discussed, I mean I taught to you for a little while, but whatever. Now, let's drive into specific actions you can take to provide the practical support, that on-the-ground stuff. And you can start by taking this course. Excellent job. Well done. No, seriously though, having the understanding of DOEs, of experimental design, and your role in them that this course is all about, it's going to go a long way. It's effectively why I made the course. I've worked with a lot of teams over my career, and let's just say that there's a strong correlation between successful experimentation and how much of the content that this course covers that the leadership knows.
Okay.
Next, engage in open conversations with the team in a supportive, encouraging way. There's some situational awareness that the team should have, and they should be doing some real critical thinking about it. I'll give you some questions you can ask the team to really get at that stuff. But when you ask the team, make sure that they know it's for them, right? You're asking the questions to help their process, not for you. I mean, you could even tell them that they don't need to give you the answers right then and there, or even ever, just as long as they know what the answers are. First and foremost, the team needs to be clear about the purpose of the experiment. So a great question to ask is, what question are you trying to answer with the experiment? Hopefully that'll help focus them in and make sure that the knowledge that they're trying to gain is clear. Sometimes teams will just grab a bunch of measurements in hopes of finding something in an experiment. Now, there's some serious statistical risk there, but even if there wasn't, it indicates the team either isn't clear on the purpose of the experiment, like I was talking about with that first question, or isn't clear on what measurement will be able to fill that purpose. So a great follow-up question to that first question is, will the measurement you are using be able to answer that question? Pretty straightforward, but needs to be answered for a successful experiment. Now, the team should have a decent, but not necessarily perfect, understanding about the context of this individual experiment. So one question you can use is, how does this experiment fit into the overall learning path, right? They won't necessarily have the exact details, but when heading into an experiment, there's often some apprehension, if you've got the right factors, are they being tested? Do you have the right levels for those factors that are being tested? And it's completely understandable because we'll never fully know before the experiment if we've chosen the right things about those, right? I mean, if we could, we probably wouldn't need to be running the experiment. We're trying to learn about these factors and these levels. But there's a pair of questions that can help the team anticipate potential challenges and proactively address them. So first is ask, what are the possible outcomes? And they can think about it, sort of a game theory type thing, because then you can follow up with, for each outcome, what would be the next step? You can anticipate potential challenges then and really try to remedy them. It might change the structure of their experiment and even potentially what they're measuring. Remember, with all of these questions, your role is to support and guide as needed. It's not to dictate them, right? Guide them. Avoid judgment of their answers and encourage the team to think critically. Your goal really in all of this is to stimulate their thinking and help them develop a situational awareness. If you do that, even if they don't have the best answers when the question is first asked, when you first bring it up, they'll continue to think about it, after that conversation's over and really work it out, right? They're not going to just forget you asked the question. They'll continue thinking about it. Now, if you have technical expertise relevant to the experiment, I know it can be hard not to chime in with your technical perspective. I mean, who doesn't want to geek out about the product and the experimentation? But please let them ask you first. There is a power imbalance here. Even if you don't perceive it, they do. And you might want your opinion to be thrown in the hopper with everyone else's, but it won't be. A single unprompted tip from you can derail a project for a week. Now, that said, you may be able to provide invaluable support with your subject matter expertise in an area that can be very challenging in the lead up to experimentation. And that is determining the sample size. Now, in the case of DOEs, sample size is the number of replicates, the number of times each treatment condition is tested. The biggest challenge, typically, is coming up with two of the values needed to determine what the sample size should be. The first value is expected variation, as in how much the outcome, the thing you're measuring, the y, varies under consistent conditions, right? You're not changing any of the x's, just how much variation is there. Now, ideally, you use historical data, but if that isn't available and you can't collect it before the experiment, estimating variation is commonly based on subject matter expertise and, if possible, similar products. So your subject matter expertise and awareness of other products might be key in estimating the expected variation to make sure they have an appropriate sample size to make sure you have a successful experiment. The second is a measure of practical significance called difference to detect. That is the minimum change in the response, again, the thing being measured, that matters. For example, imagine baking cookies and we're measuring the color. Now, a significant change, like burnt cookies, is easily noticeable and obviously important. Well, to the cookie baking world, and for me, the cookie eating world. However, subtle differences in shade, within a desired golden brown range wouldn't necessarily be critical. So effectively, the experiment needs to know how hard that you want to look for any change, a slight hue change or a big change. And the harder you want to look, the higher the sample size. If it's not something you can ask your users about, it can be a bit of a judgment call, especially if the transfer functions governing that product haven't yet been established, right? The science isn't fully understood. It can be hard to figure out. So your subject matter expertise can again be helpful in making these judgment calls. So, in summary, the best way to contribute to the experimentation process is to encourage the team's situational awareness, have them really thinking critical about the context that they are in, and to be ready with your subject matter expertise, ready, not pushing it on them, such that if they ask about it, you can provide it, and in helping determining sample size as the experiment is being designed.